This is how to use one-shots and vocal processing to make smoother loops like Coop the Truth and Nami. In this video I'm going to fully break it down step by step, so let's get straight into it. Firstly, you want to make sure your BPM isn't too high, so I put it for 128 on this sample, just to have that smooth and R&B type style. After that you want a really vintage and smooth sounding sample, so I got this one here. Then I laid down this simple pattern which sounds like this. Then to give it even more texture, I put Shaper Box 3 on it on this preset here. Then I added a simple reverb to make it feel more airy, then an EQ which cuts out some of the lows and boosts the highs a little bit. After this, what I did is I found two simple sounds. These are like some weird little textures, and I did a call and response technique with them, just so one plays and then one follows up, and this just allows it to flow a bit better throughout the sample. Then for the effects I added a delay on the ping pong preset just to make it go back and forth, a simple reverb, and then some EQ to tame some of the harsh high end on it. Then on sample 2 I added a little bit of chorus, a little bit of flanger, and a bit of reverb just to make it a bit more fuller and a bit more airy at the same time. Moving on to the synth, which sounds like this. As you can hear, it sounds a little bit weird and a little bit strange, but in the main sample you don't actually hear this. This is just for the texture and a bit of rhythm. As you'll notice, quite a lot of these sounds have reverb, and that's so I can get them in the headspace differently and have a sense of direction. So like the foreground and background. Some people do this in other instances with like EQ and other effects like that, but I tend to use reverb as this can make it a bit more creative, and I can mess around with it a little bit more than you could with an EQ or other effects. After that, I rendered out all the samples, as you can see here. I pressed the little red button which arms all the tracks, and then I pressed Alt-R just to render them. Then, once in the playlist view, I turned on the declicking to generic just so they don't have the little weird clicks and pops, and then I pitched it down by 5 semitones. I did this because mostly when you're making samples, after a while you start to get something called ear fatigue, and a simple way to combat this is just by simply pitching it up or down. This is so you can get a bit more creativity, but also so your ears don't get worn out on the different sounds which you use constantly. Once everything was done there, all I did is I grabbed the second sound we used, I pitched it down an octave, and then I reversed it just to give it a bit more feeling, a bit more texture. Then this is what everything sounds like so far. As you can tell, some of the things sound a little bit too empty, so this is where we go into adding some more processing and a little bit more texture. What I did, I started by getting a simple little one shot which sounds like this, it's a little guitar thing. I pitched it up by 5 semitones, then I added a little bit of delay just so it can fade off into the distance and it has a bit more rhythm into the full sample. Then I thought, why not add a simple little guitar just to fill in a bit more space and give a bit more rhythm, so I added it and it sounds like this. Then, once again, I did a bit more reverb and a bit more EQ just to tame some of the frequencies. Now, before I get into the vocal processing side, I added 2 simple loops, and these are just perk loops or percussion loops, and these are just to add a bit more texture, a bit of rhythm, because all you want in this sample is lots of rhythm, lots of textures. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, but you just want everything to sound really vintage, like old like VHS vinyl records. Now the next part of this is going to be a little voiceover and just me showing the vocal processing, as this takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and sorts, and it's a bit difficult at some points, but I'll explain fully in depth. So let's get into it. Now, if you've made it this far, thank you very much, it means a lot. Now I know that's been a lot of talking, but now we're moving on to my favourite part, vocal processing. Now you may be thinking,
well, I'm not the best of singers, or I can't sing at all.
Neither, but I'm going to show you the source right now. Firstly, I pitched the whole sample down by 5 semitones, as I don't own a little older boy, so I can't really do the form and shifting like that, so to combat this, that's what I did. Then I added these effects on my vocals, as you'll see here. As you can see, what I've used is auto-tune to, well, tune my voice. Then we've got a compressor to make me louder, a simple delay to echo my voice, a reverb once again, then a J34 to add saturation. This is a demo as, well, I'm broke. And then Portal, then another reverb to make my voice more in the background. Now, I'm not going to show you the raw vocals because, well, let's save it, they sound horrible. But I am going to show you the raw vocals when they're pitched up by 5, and I'll show you them with the effects as well.
Ready for war? Guns be by your side. Ready for war? Guns be by your side.
Then, after I did that, I duplicated the vocals, reversed them, chopped a section out and added more reverb. Yet again, this to add a nice little texture, and it sounds like this. Finally, then I pitched the whole sample up 2 semitones for the final sound. Now, you haven't heard the sample in the beginning, so here it is. If you like the video, please leave a comment, subscribe maybe. Anyways, peace out.